Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the University of Northern Iowa. I am Dr. Gayle Pohl. I am the chair of the public relations major here at the University of Northern Iowa. I want to invite you to this beautiful space. This is what we call here at UNI the Lang Auditorium. And why is this significant to you, the members of the global audience? Well, on this stage, Robert Frost has spoken, Martin Luther King has spoken, Martin Luther King Jr. has spoken. This is a historic stage, and I am so proud on this auspicious occasion to speak to you, my global community, about my research. This is a proud, proud moment for me. The title of my research is Adding Listening as an Explicit Dimension to Relationship Management Theory. I am a public relations researcher, I am a public relations scholar, and I am a public relations professor. But I also value, to the deepest core of my being, listening, and adding listening to everything that I do. So I want to introduce to you the most popular theory in public relations, and that is the public relations management theory. But before we get into that, please allow me to give you a brief introduction to public relations. Long ago, there were three researchers, Cutlet, Center, and Broom. And in 1994, they defined public relations as a management function of establishing, maintaining mutually beneficial relationships between and among its audiences upon whom its successes depend. We went on and did further research, the research community, and we found that public relations helps our complex, pluralistic society to reach decisions and to help our society function more effectively by contributing to mutually understanding of groups, organizations, and institutions. We find that it helps to bring public and private policies into harmony. Broom and Shaw, in 2013, say that public relations serves a variety of organizations and audiences, so that it is imperative that the public relations practitioner understands the needs and the wants and the desires of those publics. We as a practitioner need to go further. We need to understand the values and the attitudes and the lifestyles of those people in our audience. We need to understand the goals that our organizations hold, but also the goals of those that that organization serves. We need to understand the mutual goals that are held between the organization and the audience members. We, as practitioners, are responsible, according to Broom and Shaw, for anticipating, analyzing, and interpreting public opinion, attitudes, and issues that might affect the audience and the organization for good, for ill, or for the future of our local society, our regional society, our natural society, national society, but more importantly, or as well, our global society. We also are responsible for counseling at all levels in the organization about policy decisions, about courses of actions, about communications with these audiences. In order to do that, we need to research, we need to conduct and evaluate on a continuing basis programs of actions, communication to achieve the informed public understanding that is necessary for the success of our organization and their audience. This can include marketing, it can include financials, fundraising, employee communication, community or governmental relations, and a myriad of other programs. We also need to plan and implement the organization's efforts to influence or change public policy. We need to set objectives, and we need to plan, we need to budget, we need to recruit, we need to train staff, we need to develop facilities, and in short, we need to manage the resources needed to perform all of these functions for the good of our organization and their audiences. So we're, in fact, getting into communication arts, we're getting into psychology, we're getting into social psychology, sociology, political science, economics, the principles of management, and most importantly, ethics. We also need those technical skills for like opinion research and public issue analysis and media relations and direct mail and institutional advertising and publications and film and video production and special events and speeches and presentations, and I could go on and on. But overall, public relations is focused on public relationships. No matter if we're working with a person or an organization. That, my global friends, is what public relations is all about. Now, let me explain to you what relationship management theory is all about. This was created and then really blown up by a friend of mine, John Lenningham, and then his partner, Steve Brumming. They define relationship management theory as public relations balancing the interest of organizations and publics through the management of organization-public relationships. And they studied this, and they studied it in relationship to public affairs, community relations, issue management, crisis management, and media relations. But I think the essence of relational perspective is captured way back in that first definition of public relationship by Center and Broom and Jackson. And that is the proper term for the desired outcomes of public relations practice is public relationships. An organization with effective relations will obtain positive relationships. And the relational perspective is to define the organizational function of public relationships and clarify the role of communication within that function and provide a process for determining the contribution of public relations to the attainment of organizational goals. The concept of relationship management underscores the need for public relations practitioners to be conversant with strategic planning and other managerial processes. Now, this whole concept has emerged and grown in popularity. And there are many definitions and different types. We talk about maintenance strategies. We talk about stakeholder attitudes, values, and expectations, and process models. But what we're really looking at and centering on is the agreement between organizations and publics on key issues and the degree to which an organization and its key publics can accurately predict each other's position and therefore act as indicators of that relationship state. So there's a linkage there. There's a definite linkage. Grunig and Ettling in 1992 suggested that a relationship state can be determined by the dimensions of reciprocity, trust, mutual legitimacy, openness, mutual satisfaction, and mutual understanding. So as a result, Leningham and Bruning and Tomlinson and Lesko in 1997 culled out 17 different dimensions and added a lot of interpersonal dimensions and marketing dimensions and other types of relationship. But then in 1998, Leningham and Bruning said, we're going to operationalize these. And they decided that there were only 5 relevant dimensions. And those 5 are trust, openness, involvement, investment, and commitment. So in every relationship, they're looking at trust as an organization and an audience doing what it says it's going to do. Openness as sharing the organization's plans for the future with the public. Okay, third is involvement. This is where the organization is involved with the welfare of the community. And then investment. This is where the organization invests in the welfare of the community. It could be some community outreach of some sort where the organization helps with child welfare or organizing games for underprivileged children or whatever. But then Leningham and Bruning started thinking that they needed to explore the linkages between those dimensions and public perceptions and their attitudes and their choice behavior. And they found that public awareness of an organization's support of a community associated with a favorable predisposition towards the organization was the result. Their research also demonstrated that the value of a relationship as a predictor of public predispositions brought about positive behavior from audiences and satisfaction from audiences. And they ended up offering strategies for maintaining audience-public relationships, which included access, positiveness, openness, assurance, networking, and the sharing of tasks. It also suggested that audiences were amenable to controlled mutuality, trust, satisfaction, and commitment to organization public relationship outcomes. Later on, through additional research, Leningham and Bruning added loyalty and customer satisfaction as dimensions. We're seeing all sorts of positive relationship management going on here. As Leningham and Bruning started doing more and more research, they saw other researchers jump on board. Another one by the name of Brune in 2000 came up with this concept of communication-centered patterns. And they found that the audience, when they found out they were in a relationship with the organization, and it was a positive relationship, they came up with this concept of communication-centered patterns, and that the audience was assessing information, storing information, and using information for their own needs. And then they were listening to the information and using it as a communication engagement tool, i.e. social exchange, and that they exchanged it among themselves, among each audience member. So there became, according to Broom, this whole concept of reciprocity between the organization and the audience, and between audience members. And there was this information flow as a result of listening. And then another pair of researchers got involved, Grunig and Hong, in 2000. They reconceptualized Broom's work, and they said, well, what the audience is really doing is they're first looking at their own needs, which they call antecedents, and then, excuse me, they had some maintenance strategies that they had to deal with, which depended on their relationship status. Their relationship with the organization, which could be new, which could be developing, which could be an old, established relationship. Or it could be an outcome of a strategy, meaning it could be a consequence, meaning a positive consequence, or a negative consequence, or a neutral consequence. They suggested methods for monitoring each of those components. So, what do? We go back to this whole concept of environmental scanning for the antecedent phase, and then ongoing observations by management and publics for relationship stage, and then we talk about co-orientational measurement for consequences. So, excuse me. I get very excited when I talk about this because I'm so passionate about this, and I'm sorry I'm coughing. How do we sum relationship management theory up? Lettingham does it quite well in 2003 and says there are 11 things we should know. Let me go back, let me list them out very quickly. In the relational perspective, relationship presuppositions act as a framing mechanism for building theory and teaching in practice, and the use of communication output as the measure of programmatic accountability is superseded by measurement of relational and behavioral outcomes. Number 2, the appropriate unit of measurement of public relations impact is the organization-public relationship. I think that's very important. The unit of measurement is the organization-public relationship. Number 3, analysis of organization-public relationship is grounded in interpersonal relationships. And moreover, many interpersonal relationship principles are complete with guidelines for initiating, maintaining, and improving relationships, and serve as a foundation for the exploration of organization-public relationships. Number 4, organization-public relationships involve an ongoing interchange of needs, expectations, and fulfillment. Needs. Number 5, ratings of relationship dimensions can serve the state of an organization-public relationship which in turn can act as a predictor of public perceptions and choice behavior. Number 6, organization public relationship types include symbolic and behavioral, as well as professional, personal, and community related. Number 7, organization public relationships change over time. Number 8, the outcome of effective relationship management is mutual understanding and benefit. Number 9, successful organization public relationships develop around common interests and solutions to common problems. Number 10, the relationship state reflects perceptions of needs and expectations of fulfillment. Number 11, mutual benefit strategies can generate economic, societal, and political gain for both the organization and the publics. Where we have relationship management, and just for example, we have investment here. And investment goes along with learning and knowledge. And then we have involvement, and it goes along with two-way communication and feedback. And openness, and on the listening side, it goes along with storytelling and metacognitive listening and social listening and ideas. And you can look at the rest of the chart. But my whole point here is that given the natural pairing of relationship management dimensions with listening component, it appears that listening should be considered as a dimension of the relationship management theory. It should be considered a vital dimension of the relationship management theory. It is, after all, an essential component to any relationship. I want to thank you for listening to me. The paper is yours if you want it. And thank you for allowing me to be part of this very, very important discussion with the Global Listening Network. Take care.